India, Uday India.
Spirituality is the connect of ourselves with our inner self, with every cosmic and non-cosmic matter. Today we have with us a spiritual enthusiast who began his journey of spirituality which led him to India. I, Vishwarupa Rath from Uday, India, welcome you to our channel today. Master Dennis is with us today.
Thank you very much for that. I came to India first in 1999.
All right.
And I didn't have much of a clue about spirituality and what spirituality really was, because I was a novice. I was only starting out. But I had started my journey as a healer 4 years before that, under the guidance of a lady called Sandra O'Hara. She's a very world-renowned, famous psychic and medium. And she started to initiate my journey to all of this. So she brought me to a day's meditation in 1997, and I met my master at that day's meditation in Ireland in a place called Drogheda. And he done a lecture there that day, and that's when my journey started.
So your journey started through healing, right?
Yes.
All right, that's very beautiful. So who is the guru in India who led you to,
His name is Shashi Dubey,
Shashi
Master
Dubey.
Shashi Dubey, and he's a very famous guru. He's a very elevated soul, a beautiful human being.
All right.
And there's no end to his vastness, his wisdom, his knowledge.
All right.
And I'm still investigating that.
I'm sure. Okay. So talking about India, why India? Like you were saying that the Indian traditions attracted you. So tell me more about how you like the traditions of India. Like what is it that attracts you the most about us?
Well, the understanding of realizations, and when you come to a certain realization yourself, you've run out of road, that you've run out of ideas, you've run out of time.
Right.
And that's a revelation within itself. So you're asking God to help you. You're asking anything to help you because you're in a desperate place. And that happened to me 3 years before I met Master. And within 2 weeks I met my first teacher who, brought me to his company. But on meeting him, I started to realize actually how little I knew and how afraid I actually was, and how much fear I was carrying within me. I had no answers.
Yeah.
So it was time to find someone that had answers. And one of the first things he said to me when I got to know him, he said, if you want to strengthen your will, you've got to meet someone with a stronger will than you. So that was the catalyst for my journey to India.
All right.
That first day I met him, there was a connection that I couldn't describe or explain, but I felt very drawn to him, but yet I was very weary. And, I didn't trust very much at that time.
Yeah.
So over that period, that day, my life between that time meeting him and the next time was starting to change.
All right.
But I didn't attribute that to him until I met him the second time.
Okay.
There's a long story to that first meeting. That there was things happened that day that were outside of normal being thinking. Yeah. And there was a connection between us energetically, but also telepathically.
Okay.
And I seen perform some things that day in the meditation group that were astounding. Yeah.
All right.
That were amazing. Yeah.
So as you're saying that it was difficult for you to trust it. So here's my question for you. How would you help youngsters or anyone who is new on this path to spirituality to have this faith in it? Because that I think is the most crucial part of it. To have the faith from the beginning.
Faith is a powerful thing,
Yeah.
And what is faith? Like, very few people can tell you what faith is, but faith is a knowing within yourself that you, even though it's tough, it's not looking good, faith keeps you here.
Okay.
There's two types of faith. There's the FAITH faith, which is soul, and then there's the FATE faith, which is soul also.
Okay.
So your faith is to have faith.
Yeah.
And you arrive at the place you're meant to arrive at, and every human being has that experience due to karma, dharma, and that day I met him in Ireland, that was my faith.
Okay.
And my faith brought me to it.
Okay.
Now, my preparation for that meditation, if I told you, you would laugh, because I was out the night before and I had drank a good bit of drink, and I wasn't in any way spiritual, as we would say.
Okay.
So, I didn't have this pair of wings and a halo
All right.
from birth. I believe in life we have to go through very dark or tough times first before we find the light. Yeah.
Okay. So you just have to have the patience to hold on till that point that you have faith.
Absolutely. But there's a lot of courage attached to young people actually going searching for something different.
Yeah.
Because you can experience a lot of ridicule and put down, and people often give up for that reason, that their friends mightn't agree,
Right.
or someone has a contradiction of terms with them, and it takes a lot of faith within yourself to say, okay, this is something that nourishes me, and this is something that I want to discover more of me. Okay. And once you start that fire, it's very hard to put it out.
Yeah. Sure.
You will keep going, you will keep looking, and you will come up against many, many obstacles as you go to pull away from the old you.
Right.
And that's what I always want to pull you back. And my whole perception of God and how nature works now is totally different than when I was that young man stepping into that place. Yeah.
All right. So, what is your view on transformation and revelation in the spiritual journey?
That when we get a revelation that we're not in the place we're meant to be, we come to that realization, and then we start to transform. Okay. And fill out the space that we are. That we all hold a space. Okay. That space is the most important thing to realize. We are a space. We're 99.9% space.
Yeah.
And through consciousness, as we move through consciousness, there's different stimulation and different initiations within you. And as you go up through the vibrations, you start to meet fewer people of the same consistency as you had down below. Yeah. And those people initiate you to the next level. Okay. If you have the determination to keep going. Oftentimes you will think you're crazy. Oftentimes things will look crazy. But when you get past that glass ceiling, as they say, you go through the glass ceiling, you realize, okay, I've moved in myself.
Yeah.
Very much so moved to myself. So, spirituality and meditation, all those things, we talk about it a lot, but we don't do enough of it. Because patience, very few people have patience now. We live in a consumer society. Everything is consume, and a society of convenience. If it's not there for us right now, we get very angry.
Yeah.
We have lost a patience. And patience is something that we get from sitting with ourselves and sitting for a very long time till the mind, because your mind is running and racing, and it's like a chattering monkey. Yeah. And if you have a lot of upset in your life, or a lot of torment or loss or grief, you can't stop thinking. Yeah. Okay. So how do you still the mind? And it's to sit with it and let the mind go through its feverish state. And oftentimes very spiritual people will lose a parent or a family member and they'll fall off the wagon. But eventually, they'll recover that and get back onto it. But my experience in this journey, I arrived in India by accident.
Yeah.
And many things happened to me by accident. So I didn't plan, I stopped planning. I heard this saying years ago in Ireland, tell God your plans and then listen to him laugh.
Okay.
And that was a revelation, yeah? Because we do plan and yet it can fall apart on us. And that disappointment can stop us in our tracks. Yeah?
Right.
So, spirituality has many, many conversations. For me, I just can work from what works for me.
Okay.
And, I have 3 young people at home. My son is 31, my elder girl is 29, the other is 23. I don't force them to this type of thing. If we're close and we live in a good environment. But one of the things I did teach them was self-forgiveness.
Okay.
And I'd say, you make a mistake, the mistake is the pain.
Okay.
Don't need to punish yourself for years afterwards or for a long time afterwards. But human beings do that.
Right.
The mistake is like, it's a learning. So if we succeed, we win. And if we make a mistake, we learn. And if we can see it in that way. Yeah. I'm not a scholar in religions or stuff like that. And I meditate for the last 28 years, a long time. And I found, sitting with myself, I find something new every day.
Okay.
There is consistencies, as we're consistent as human beings. That in itself is realization. If we consider the mind as a driver,
right,
and we consider the body as a carriage, and we consider the emotions as the horses, and the soul as the passenger inside, and we come into that, understand that level of consciousness within ourselves, then the mind we can direct.
Right.
Yeah? Sitting in meditation, the mind gets distracted and starts to chatter, and embarrassment comes up, worry comes up, stress comes up. you know, that you could be thinking about someone that you really care about, and you start to chant or you start to do your breathing, and all of a sudden your mind starts to tune.
Right.
The solution comes in that for you. Do you know that I've solved many problems for many people through my patience, through having learned my patience, but also research.
Okay.
And the most important thing is, you know, research, reading, studying texts, all that sort of stuff, visiting places of high energy, and respecting the space that is.
Okay.
Yeah? In everybody's space, there's energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, in my journey, I've been lucky enough to go to the most amazing place in the world. Yeah. Other people wouldn't dream of it.
Okay.
Yeah. So for me, I'm out of a village of over 1,000 people in Ireland. I wouldn't think there was too many of them ever met the Himalayas.
Okay.
Once. I know Indians, lots of Indians haven't met the Himalayas once. And I've been there 70, 80 times. Yeah?
Okay.
And what is that? My soul
Yeah.
was caught. Yeah?
So you're saying that about meditation, you're saying that when we meditate, there are a lot of things that come up which are not as peaceful as, you know, the outward world shows meditation as. Because if you sit silently, there is chaos. So you are saying that we need to embrace that chaos until we find the solution to it.
Correct. I was in Davos a few weeks ago at the World Economic Forum. Now, I wasn't at the World Economic Forum, but I was in Davos.
Okay.
And there was a Lama from Tibet there. He lives in Bhutan.
Okay.
And his name is Chadak Rinpoche. And I went to one of his talks, and he said, you know, that you don't need to close your eyes to meditate. A lot of people close their eyes to meditate. He said, you go inside and you start fighting with your mind. You open your eyes and you sit and you listen.
Yeah.
Like we're sitting here, and if we really listen, went to silence, we'd hear a motorbike outside, we hear the car, we hear noise around us all the time. But when we're in action, we don't hear anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the mind is feverishly, you don't hear anything. But when we go silent
Okay.
and we start to really listen to those sounds, it's incredible where it takes you. It brings you right into the now.
It gives you so much that you want to come back to it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. But it gives your mind a rest.
It does.
An exhausted mind,
Yeah.
yeah? People get exhausted and their minds get exhausted from thinking. And what happens is fear comes first in the mind, yeah? Then insecurity comes in the body, yeah? And then anxiety comes in your energy.
Okay.
And then stress comes to everything. So that's the path to the stress.
Right.
And we know what happens when you get stressed or too stressed. You become unwell. You get a physical sickness, a mental sickness.
Yeah.
Because we're not giving our bodies a rest from the anxiety, the shakings, our nerve endings, our cells and all that. You know that when we go to meditate, we sit down, there's certain times of the day that are very good to meditate. It's between 4 and 7 in the morning. There's not as many people up. The planets are in a very nice place. There's a lot of cosmic light in the air.
Okay.
And you know, it's a time where your body is very relaxed. Yeah?
Okay.
So that's kind of my practice. Yeah.
All right. So I'd like to know about your view in how being spiritual is different from being religious.
Religion is a philosophy that we are taught as part of a community. And religion has powerful merits. I mean, Hinduism is 20,000 years old, Judaism is 5,000 years old, Christianity is 2,000 years old, Islam is 1,500 years old, and Buddhism is around the same as well.
Okay.
So they have lasted all those times.
Yeah.
The religion serves through prayer, through sound.
Yeah.
There's very little difference between meditation and religion. Religion is a community thing, you can do with the community,
Yeah.
and it creates a society.
Okay.
And cohesive, and there's laws that are generated from religions. But meditation is a personal thing.
Yeah.
And you get to sit on your own and you get to discover.
Yeah.
And when we start to discover outside of ourselves, we enhance actually our own religion.
Yeah.
Because religions are vast
Yeah.
in what you can learn from them. They're very vast. So when I'm a Catholic, and when I came to India, I thought I understood my religion, but I didn't.
Okay.
And it's only when I started to understand there are other philosophies that I realised that how much I hadn't invested into discovering my own.
All right.
So I went back to read the Bible and different things, so I could feel the energy from it. I actually got a lot from it.
Right.
So I read the Bible energetically. I don't analyse it. I don't study it. I just sit with it, and I feel from the stories. Yeah, and I found that very, very powerful. Yeah, very
So
powerful.
you're saying that it's really necessary for us to make our understanding vast about every religion. That's how we understand our own religion better.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
I mean, if you live in a community where you're sharing your space with Hindus and Muslims and Christians and all those things, and usual fear, suspicion, nothing grows in that environment. But that if we have a healthy respect for each other's space and our religions, and as individuals, even converse about that, and teach each other from love. Yeah,
Right.
and what we try to do is save the world when we become meditators.
right.
And actually, we're not trying to save the world, and we're not trying to save ourselves. We're trying to experience ourselves, and we're trying to feel life
Right.
and feel the joy of life. And that's not always available to us. I mean, we're here. This is a suffering realm. Yeah, suffering is always going to exist at some level, and that when we would surrender, and we see that we're not actually in charge, and we meet the boss, which is the higher self, and we move in that. You can't please everybody. You can please some of the people sometimes, but not all the people all the times.
Yeah.
So for me, to take that hour or two every day to meditate is spending time with myself to reflect and to clean my mind. So I have had a very hard life in many ways, and being a healer, you see very hard things,
Yeah.
and oftentimes we have to clean the energy. So going to the Himalaya with the master and experiencing that journey, it can be quite tough physically and mentally, and you can get quite tired. But once you get to that high energy place, you find yourself settling. Yeah.
All right. So Himalayas are one of the places that made you feel like it's like the peak of spirituality for you.
It is the place for that experience of energy.
All right.
And that everything is about tuning. And when we enter Hadawar, and I never knew what Hadawar was, and it's the gates to heaven, it's God. And you enter there and you start seeing the Himalaya, and you see the Ganga flowing down,
Yeah.
and you see the big statue of Shiva, and everything you're preparing yourself for, it just gives you that feeling of peace and joy.
All right.
And as you make your way up, we all know the Himalayas is quite a scary place
Yeah.
too. If the mountain starts to slide, you're sitting on the bus and you see stones falling,
Yeah.
it's there where you have to surrender. So I think the biggest thing in meditation is learning how to surrender.
All right. That is very beautiful. It's been a very enjoyable conversation with you actually to discover spirituality in your views. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.